Roger Stone was recently found guilty on 7 counts by a Washington, D.C. jury, which we'll get to in a second, but the media hasn't adequately covered this story. Instead, the only reports they've made about Roger Stone's conviction is in gloating fashion. They're celebrating it instead of telling you what happened. It's further proof that they're not real news organizations anymore. So, let me just tell you what this all stems from. The Roger Stone investigation, if you will, stems from when the House Intelligence Committee pulled him in for a 3-hour interrogation. This was back September 26th, 2017. It's drug out for this long. And they were all investigating Russia's attempt to influence the election. It was that. It was Mueller's probe to try and essentially invalidate Trump's election. That's what they were doing. That's what the whole thing was about. Saying that the Russians are behind Trump's election is their way of saying Hillary should have won. And that's, in a sense, why they went after Roger Stone. In fact, he made some incorrect statements to the House Intelligence Committee during this 3-hour interrogation. They were on a fishing expedition, and they found what they wanted. They found some incorrect statements that he made so they could throw him under the bus, because he is a well-known Trump ally who has criticized the deep state, who has mocked the deep state on Fox News. He's somebody who doesn't seem to be afraid, and I think that's what has them out to get him, if you will. One of the counts that they charged him under was because he said he didn't have emails about WikiLeaks and the allegedly hacked documents, when in fact they did find emails on that topic. Again, ridiculous fishing expedition, but that's where we're at. Another count was that Roger allegedly lied when he said that Credico, who is best known as a comedian but also talks politically, was his only connection to Assange, was Roger's only connection to Julian Assange, when in fact he'd also talked to Jeremy Corsi for that purpose. Now, Jeremy Corsi is someone who works at InfoWars, or at least worked at InfoWars, and Roger Stone has been on InfoWars many times. They're basically buddies. They've been in contact numerous times, off camera, on camera, I'm sure. And so, in the midst of a friendship, you might say, people talk about lots of different things. And it's possible to lose track of what you've talked to a certain individual about. And I think that's exactly what happened in this particular case. And yet they charged him for it. I mean, Roger had a lot of contact with Jeremy Corsi. There's no denying that. They both appeared on screen together at the same time, multiple times. And yet they're going to try and throw Roger Stone's life away over this. And all of this entire case, assumes that the DNC emails that were given to WikiLeaks were hacked by the Russians. The entire case, literally, hinges upon this assumption that we don't know to be true. In fact, it appears that, in fact, members of the DNC, actual employees, leaked it. It appears that one of those might have been Seth Rich. WikiLeaks says that it did not come from the Russians, the data that they received. And the DNC, curiously, if they thought it was from the Russians, if they thought it was Russian hacking, didn't let the FBI look at their servers. They didn't let law enforcement look at their servers and figure out where this mysterious hack comes from, or came from. You know, like when PayPal, for example, there were lots of people trying to get into PayPal at one point. They got the FBI involved and said, come help us secure our servers and make sure nobody gets in. There have been multiple different companies that have actually been hacked, and they've called the FBI because it's a serious crime to hack into, somebody's server. DNC didn't do any of that. They hired a private company, almost like they wanted to cover something up. They hired a private company to investigate, and we still don't have the results on that. And Roger Stone wanted to make this point key in his defense. Because all of this, all of his entire case, is immaterial if the Russians weren't involved. The case hinges on the idea that the Russians hacked the DNC and gave information to WikiLeaks, and Roger Stone knew something about it and misspoke. That's the case. The case that they want to throw his life away over. So he wanted to argue that, in fact, the Russians weren't behind it at all, that it was a leak. And in order to do that, he wanted to get subpoenas from that private company that did investigate the DNC servers. And he wasn't allowed to. This judge, Judge Amy Berman, refused to let him make that defense, to contest the Russian involvement. Like, we're just supposed to accept that it's fact, and he had to accept that it was fact and wasn't allowed to contest that at all before the jury. Why this matters is because the entire case against Roger Stone would fall apart if he could prove that the Russians weren't involved at all. It's kind of like, with the Trump case, when how he couldn't obstruct justice because there was no crime that he committed, so no matter what he did, he wasn't obstructing justice. There was no justice to be had. It's a very similar situation. Now, Roger is 67 years old. The potential prison term, the maximum prison term that he's facing, is 50 years. That's, 2 murder sentences? It's certainly a death sentence at his age for not recalling something about old emails to a Democrat witch hunt, which is what this always was. As they've shown, and by they I mean Democrats, the modern left, if they can't hurt Trump, they're more than happy to hurt his friends. And that is what we're seeing right here. Roger Stone now fears an Epstein-style reception, or should I say an Epstein-style execution, which is what's popularly believed to have happened to Seth Rich. But the whole thing is such a travesty of justice, no matter how you look at it. And by the way, these people have made a travesty of justice into like an art form. And lying to Congress has been done intentionally, repeatedly, by lots of people, lots of Democrats, in fact, who have made that into an art form, lying to Congress. I mean, when you look at Peter Strzok and James Clapper and John Brennan, these people aren't facing 50-year prison terms. Not even facing 15 minutes. Nobody cares. Well, at least the people who should care don't. And Trump, this has actually gotten his attention, Trump's attention. He did tweet about this, which is a start, but is not enough. He said, quote, "So they now convict Roger Stone of lying and want to jail him for many years to come. Well, what about Crooked Hillary, Comey, Strzok, Page, McCabe, Brennan, Clapper, Shifty Schiff, Orr and Nellie, Steele, and all of the others, including even Mueller himself? Didn't they lie?" And he's right. These people did lie to Congress. Many of them we can prove that they lied, that they did so intentionally and did so repeatedly. I think Trump should pardon Roger Stone, because it's so clear that this is a case of not just the fact that he misremembered and so it's ridiculous that they go after him, but it's selective persecution. We can see these other people who aren't going to be persecuted. We're known that they're not going to be persecuted. They would have been by now if they were going to be. Instead, it's Trump's friends. And I fear that he won't even think about pardoning Roger Stone until after the election. And that is tragic. If I can be candid here, Trump has not done a great job of sticking up for his friends. And I think that's one of the reasons that he is so alone at the top, that he has so few people who are willing to stick by him. Would you want to get that close to him now? Would you want to work in his administration? When you have the snakes of the deep state going around and pressing charges against people for the most frivolous of things and selectively persecuting them, and then Trump doesn't stand up for them. Would you want to put yourself in that situation? I think a lot of good people wouldn't want to. And Roger, to top it all off, faced a jury in Washington, D.C., of all places, in the swamp. Washington, D.C. is a place where 4% voted for President Trump. 4% voted for Trump in the 2016 election. 4. Not 24, 4. That's it. Over 90% voted for Hillary Clinton. You don't get more of a swamp than that. So yes, these people who were sat on the jury almost certainly wanted to reverse the election. You know what they heard in that whole trial? They heard Trump ally and wanted to take him down. And that's what makes this so egregious. The fact that he's being persecuted for nothing more, from where I'm sitting, than for being an ally of President Trump. If you want to support Roger Stone and his appeal, and I think he certainly does deserve it, go to stonedefensefund.com. He also has t-shirts that say Roger Stone did nothing wrong. And he was wearing one of these t-shirts actually at the time of his FBI raid. If you remember, they did an FBI raid where CNN showed up an hour before the pre-dawn raid. That they had, guns, rifles to arrest Roger Stone. He was wearing this t-shirt that said Roger Stone did nothing wrong at that particular time. You can get one of those shirts and help support his defense, because he is going to appeal and we can maybe still win this thing. I try at the end of my videos to always ask you guys to support my work and my videos, and I appreciate all of those that do. But also, Roger's a good man who's being railroaded. So if you don't want to support me, or you just want to support him, like I said, he's a good man, it's a good cause. So that was stonedefensefund.com. Alright, it's like the other side, they're already spending your own money against you. Do you realize that? This prosecution was actually done with your money. It's egregious. And there are already, of course, billions from Soros-style organizations to try and replace the judiciary. And it has effects. It has real-world effects that affect people like Roger Stone. Alright, be sure to share this one, because it won't get anywhere without you. I can't reach people without you. Thanks. Stop. Don't leave yet. Since you made it to the end, you probably enjoyed that video. In that case, here are some other videos that you might enjoy. The updates link at the top will provide you with better ways to be more reliably notified of new videos, and it also has social media information, that kind of thing. That's because you know how this site is. Well, the link at the bottom, the store link, that's in case you're looking for merchandise or our healthier products. Thanks.